It's a good deal for everybody, I believe. And I think you were saying this is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
It is.
It's a giant deal with lots of countries.
For more, let's bring in Bloomberg's Oliver Crook. Well, Oliver, it's President Trump, so obviously there are going to be superlatives. It's not just a good deal, it's the best deal that's ever been reached. What is in this deal?
Yeah, so listen, we're going to spend a little bit of time here just to go through what we got from this deal between the EU and the United States in Scotland, as you mentioned there. So what the EU went into these negotiations hoping for was 0 for 0, 0% tariffs for 0% tariffs. What they ended up with was 0% tariffs for 15% tariffs. So the Trump administration can call this a big win. As far as the Europeans are concerned, this is materially lower than what was threatened by the end of this week. That was 30%, about half of the rate that would have kicked in automatically if you were to believe Trump's deadline on August the 1st. So this comes as a real sigh of relief. And to many of the corporate people that I've been talking to CEOs, when you read a lot of the research that's been put out there from the various houses that have looked at the impact on European stocks, and you saw that illustrated in the futures up more than 1%, this is a very sort of bullish case compared to what the alternatives were for much of the European sort of trade picture. So it's 15% tariff is the baseline tariff. According to Ursula von der Leyen, that will also include things like semiconductors and the pharmaceutical sector. That, however, is not very clear from the Trump administration whether or not that is going to be the final tariff rate on pharmaceuticals, for example, because we're saying that they're still working on that Section 232 investigation. They may have other tariffs on another day. So that is something that is going to continue to rumble on into the forward. As far as the cars are concerned, we can say that 15% is quite a bit lower than many people were anticipating. They brought that down from 25% down to 15%. And that is going to be also in exchange for some other parts of this deal that you mentioned there, Jumana, which is the Europeans will buy more fossil fuels from the United States. $250 billion worth for the next 3 years. That is $750 billion worth of natural gas, oil, and those sorts of things. I should mention, again, as a footnote in that, currently the Germans, a large LNG sort of importer within Europe, they already buy 92% of their LNG from the United States. So the question is, how much space is there for additional sort of measures there? And I should just say this as a sort of final note of caution, though this is overall a sort of bullish outcome as far as the Europeans are concerned, and many of the leaders across Europe have sort of come out on Twitter to that effect, there is still the question of how changeable are these rates ultimately for a Trump administration that may want to achieve other policy goals in the future. You can see that question very much open on the question of pharmaceuticals, which maybe we've not heard the last word on.